everybody. Welcome to Mr. Mark's Classroom. And today we have a great guest I want to share with you because he is going to talk about enlisting workers. Yes, enlisting workers. It's the thing we have to do constantly, all the time. I'm even running short now. And you know, school year's half over and I'm still running short. It's just one of those places where we have to figure out how do we manage this? What do we do? And I thought, what a great opportunity to get some insight from Charlie Gatton. Charlie is one of our children's pastors here in Oklahoma City at Southern Hills Baptist Church, and I am so proud to get to work with him. He has done such amazing things with his Kid City group and all the great things that they do. Charlie, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, Mark. Thanks for inviting me to come.
Absolutely. So you've kind of pulled together some ideas about enlisting workers, and I think everybody, including me, pen in hand, ready to take notes. What are some things that you might share with us to help us off? You know, we're like high center, how to get off high center.
Sure. Well, Mark, we talk about enlisting workers, but what I really want to talk about is building a team, because we're not really a business. We're not really just trying to get people to come work, although they are going to work, but we want to build a team. And I think it's easier to bring people onto your team than it is to enlist a worker. So we're going to just change the name a little bit and call it Building Your Team.
I agree. Very good.
So how many times have you ever gone to an adult classroom or 3 or 4 on a Sunday morning and said, oh my goodness, I've just got to have help today. And you're stressed out and you're pulling your hair out going, we don't have enough people to do what we need to do. Yeah, it's just like Mr. Mark.
It's all pulled out.
It's turning gray.
I bet I've done it. I know exactly what you're saying. It's really tough.
Or we've asked the pastor to say something from the pulpit, to be a cattle call that, oh, we've got to have workers. That's not the best way to get workers. You're going to get workers, but they may not be the ones that you want or that you need. Yeah. I believe that God has equipped our church with everybody that he wants in every single position that there is, including children's ministry. So we may be short on workers, but sometimes I think that's because we're not asking the right way. So let's talk about how we're going to do that. First, I'd just tell you that you need to ask. You need to start talking to people about what it is you want to do. You need to be intentional. You need to be asking about 3 people every week to join your team. But you don't want to just ask everybody that's a warm body. You want to find out who those people are. The other thing I would say is pray. I know that sounds like a church thing to say, but God is good and God will provide what we ask for. And he tells us to ask for wisdom. So we should do that. We should pray.
And you know, I really, truly believe, I have faith in God that he fits the church together perfectly the way he wants. And you make a good point, pray and ask him, but also ask the people, because we're running our mouths, but usually it's about our belly aching of how we don't have enough people, and people are have all their entitlements and everything. That's true. That's never going to change, but we have to be asking people. That's really good word.
So here's who we're going to ask. Number one, we're going to ask God. We're going to pray. We're going to spend time praying every day. Spend time by yourself praying for who your new leaders are going to be. Spend time with your lead team, those people that you've already set up as they're the people that you go to that go to other people. But spend time sometimes with your whole team, just praying about who God wants on your team. Ask teachers and leaders. The Sunday school teachers in your church are the ones that already know who in their classroom are moving forward in their discipleship process, that they're ready to go out and teach or do something else, or ready to serve in some way. They can tell you who are good people. I don't know everybody in our church. I'd love to say that I do, but I don't.
Yeah.
The other people we're going to ask is the people that are already serving on your team. They know people that are not serving anywhere, and they know who they're going to get along with and who works well and who's dedicated and who's not dedicated. So ask the people on your current team who they would recommend. Ask parents. Parents are some of your key leaders. I think when I look at the team that I have here at Southern Hills, 85% of them are parents of kids that are in the ministry. Don't be afraid to ask parents to come along and help. They are interested in what their kids are doing. They want to be a part of it, and they want to be a part of something great.
And I've noticed that we have to be intentional about building relationships with these parents. It's easy to say, I'm a kids minister, I work with kids, but the truth is, I work with the whole family. And I have to be able to make relationships with these parents because people aren't going to follow a leader that they don't know, that they don't trust. So we've got to build that. They got to know us, know our heart, know what's going on in us and how we tick. And that often will draw people to want to be a part of your team because they know you.
That's exactly right. Most people are going to come work on your team because of the vision that you've cast for them and because of just relationships. You're exactly right.
And that vision is so simple. You're doing an event together or something and you say, man, wouldn't it be great if we could do this, or if we had like that kind of a thing happening, and suddenly you've thrown an idea, a vision of what could be out there, and a parent's like, yes, and I know somebody who's got, and we could do, and they're involved. And so it's just being yourself and saying it out loud with all these different people.
Yes, and sometimes it's as quick as easy as that. Somebody comes to you and has a complaint about something that's going on.
Mhm.
Those are prime people sometimes to put in position to help you work out that problem.
Yeah.
Be afraid.
Problem solvers.
Absolutely right. When somebody comes with an issue,
Mhm.
ask them how to solve it, and if they have a good idea, put them in charge of it.
You see, and a lot of times we have ministers who are running from that and like, and really we need to say, do you have any ideas what we could do? I mean, have you thought about it? Because I'm just hearing it. So what have you already thought about? And just engage them. They could become a great team member.
And Mark, most of the people in our church are brilliant. They really are. They're created in God's image and they have great ideas.
Yep.
I have this limited amount of ideas that are really small. So I've got to have all those people around me to do that. Yeah. But Mark, what about youth? Do you let youth work in your ministry?
I do. And I'll tell you why. I started working in children's ministry as a junior in high school. I was teaching a small group Bible study of first and second graders when I was a senior. It became the trajectory of where I was headed because I was serving and I was learning. And so if there are youth that are interested and want to be a part of, I want to engage them because God may be raising up some of them.
Well, that's the same thing for me too, Mark, because when I was in high school, I taught an RA class and have taught with kids all my life. And I'm absolutely agree with that. Now, here's the key.
So you taught little boys. Now that's like baptism by fire or something right there.
Yes, nobody else would do it. And I remember that I loved RAs when I was a little boy. And one guy taught me RAs and he was in college. So I did it too. And I've loved doing that. But here's some things about youth. At our church, we don't allow youth to serve in ministry if there's a youth event going on. So like if there's youth Sunday school going on, they're not coming to work in children's ministry.
That sounds fair.
Yeah, because we need them to build those relationships and to grow as well. And that's a really important part of them. But we do need to make as many opportunities as we can, like Vacation Bible School and Journey, which is our extended session where kids can work. Now, here's some keys to doing that. Is you need to talk with your youth pastor because he knows those kids. And a lot of times kids will want to come and work in children's ministry to get out of that relationship in the youth ministry. We want to be careful that we don't do that.
Yeah, that's not the heart you're looking for.
Right. And we want to make sure that the kids that are coming up, the youth that are coming up are, number one, they're Christians, and number two, that they're ready to serve because some of them aren't. Some of them just want to do other things. So don't skip any of the steps that we're going to talk about later with youth. Don't say, oh, well, you're a youth, come on. So we're going to talk about some steps here in a few minutes about what we do with every leader that we involve in our ministry. Don't skip any of those steps with youth.
Okay. Sounds good.
So here's some things that I do here at Southern Hills and some things that I've stolen from other people. Remember that everybody has great ideas and we can learn from everybody and every person that we meet. We can always learn from them. One of the first things that I do with any person that comes to me or I go to them and I say, hey, I want you to come work in children's ministry. If they say they're interested, they get a book that looks like this, and it's literally a book. And it's a children's ministry application, and it's pretty extensive. I asked them to give me all their personal information, their T-shirt size, their favorite candy bar. I asked them to tell me how they became a Christian, what it was like beforehand. I asked them to tell me how they would lead somebody to Christ. So what about people that aren't Christians? Are we going to let them serve? Sometimes. There's some places they can't.
Not as the lead teacher, not as the lead.
Absolutely not. There's some places we can move them in, but most of the time, if they haven't got a relationship with Christ, I'm going to witness to them right then and there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they need to be in a Sunday school class on their own, probably learning.
Yeah, and by the way, I just think adults who are new Christians that have just turned their life over to Christ, they're new believers, moving into a children's ministry role, not as the lead teacher, they're going to have the opportunity to learn foundational Bible, and it meets them kind of where they're at and doesn't put them down, but you thrust them into a higher thinking or when they have no biblical background content, and it's more of a challenge. Not that can't happen. I'm just saying, what a great thing it'd be to get the foundational Bible content as a new believer.
Absolutely. And we've done that many times where we've put in a new Christian as a teacher's assistant or in VBS where they can help another teacher that's leading all those things. We did that just this year. Wow. A young lady became a Christian who is an adult who became a Christian. And 2 weeks later, she's in VBS teaching some Bible stories, and she just came out raving about all the things she learned about Bible. But this application is going to do a lot of stuff for you. It's going to help you evaluate who you want to serve and if you want them to serve. It gives you an opportunity to ask some hard questions that are kind of awkward if you just have to bring them up. But if they're on every application, you can sit there and say, okay, tell me about your tithing habits, or tell me about whatever. It can also act as a filter, because it gives you a great opportunity to look at somebody and say, I don't think children's ministry is where you really need to be, but here's where you might want to be working.
So when you're trying to assimilate people into different places, it helps you understand that.
Yeah, and it also helps me build a relationship with them so that I get to know them a little better.
Sure.
But if I give this form to somebody and it's pretty long and I never get it back, that's a pretty good sign that these people are probably not going to be working in my children's ministry. It also gives you, go ahead.
I said probably. You must not be as desperate as I am.
Well, I am not desperate for warm bodies, I'll tell you that.
Okay, good. Maybe that means that this is working better. I like that.
I hope so, because I've had some people where in times past when I was younger, I would let pretty much anybody that wanted to serve come in and serve. And that's bit me a few times, and I try not to do that anymore. The other thing that the application does for you is it gives you a little bit of time. It gives you time to pray. It gives you time to check references. It gives you time to evaluate where that might be the best place for this particular person. Mm-hmm. Okay. So
very responsible. Hey, how do we get a copy of that thing? Can you let me put it with the show notes or resources or something? Or is that?
I'd be glad for you to have that. Yes, indeed. It's not something that, I guess we created it, but it's a conglomeration of several things that I've seen in the past. But it's 5 or 6 pages long. So I'll be glad for you.
Hey, if you could send that to me digitally, like email or something, then I could put it with these show notes and the resource page. Because there may be other people who are ready to see something and start it or update theirs.
Yes, I'll be glad for you to have
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing we need to do is really to review. We've started the application process. We've had a conversation. Again, you're going to hear me say pray a lot, because I think that we have a direct line to God, and He wants to talk to us, and He wants us to know. So we need to be praying about who we're talking to. Look over the application, use a checklist. If you don't have a checklist, you run into a problem of, okay, did I ask them this question or did I not ask them this question? So always have a checklist, and I have one of those that I'll give you with this application that helps you just be consistent. It helps you it helps you review all the delicate things that you need to do. It just makes everything the same so that you're not forgetting things. Okay.
Very good.
The other thing, the back page of our little thing is a background check request. And so every single person that works in our children's ministry, no matter what they do, if they stand at the door, if they work in the check-in stations, if they come inside the children's ministry area, they have to have a background check.
Sure.
Now, here is a background checks aren't enough. We always say, oh, if we get a background check, we'll be good to go.
No.
Well, we're not. Everybody's got to have a background check, and anybody that says they don't want one, that's a red flag. So find out why. Now, what if a person comes back with a background check problem? Are they automatically disqualified? Not necessarily.
Probably need to sit down and talk about it.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. We're going to talk about how we have an interview with every single person. But let's say this is a new Christian, and they've been a Christian for a year or two, and they had a rough life before they became a Christian. If we can see the Holy Spirit at work, and we can have some people that will reference for them and show us that they are a different person, which I believe that when a person becomes a Christian, they become a new person. And yes, they may be able to serve. Now, here's my rule. If in their background they have any kind of problem with children, they need to serve somewhere else, no matter what. No matter if they're a new Christian or not, they need to go somewhere else. We don't want
I agree.
that any crack.
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to check a lot of references when this is the case. I mean, we've got several people in our church that aren't allowed anywhere near the children's ministry area, and they know it, and we know it, and everything's good. So no matter what you do a background check, but even after you've done a background check, never forget to check those references, because people will typically tell you the truth when you ask them. If you don't ask them, it's on you.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you've done all this stuff. You've had an application. You've reviewed the application. You've done the background check. Now, what are you going to do with all that stuff? You've got to actually sit down and talk to that person. You've got to take them to lunch or something.
Right.
Bring them to your house for dinner, whatever it is. You've got to sit down and have a conversation with them. And inside of our little book is an expectations of what teachers are expected to do, what the things that I'm requiring them to do if they want to be in children's ministry. And basically in my interview, I'm going to use a guide. I'm going to use another checklist, and I'm going to go through those things and say, okay, do you understand this? Do you agree with this? Are you willing to do that? Things like you need to come to a leadership meeting when we have them. Oh, I have to do that? Oh, I can't do that. Well, if you can't do that, this may not be the place for you to serve. Because if we set expectations in the beginning, it's not a surprise when those things come up.
Right.
Okay. So once we've done that, it's time to take a tour of the children's ministry and show them where everything is. We need to show them where the printer is. We need to get them the curriculum that they need. We need to show them where they can find supplies. We need to introduce them to people who are in control of whatever things they might need in order to do it. If you have a code on your copy machine, you need to tell them those kinds of things.
Yes.
Where the paper is, and when the paper's out, what do I do? What's the process for a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night? What do you do when you walk in the door? You need to treat them just like a brand new visitor that comes to your ministry. You need to tell them everything.
So do you do all of this, or some of this, do you farm it out to other people who are knowledgeable and can do it?
I do both. I do some of them, and I ask some people to do some of them. It just depends on the day. I try really hard to keep my Wednesdays and Sunday nights where I'm not in charge of much of anything, so that I can actually be doing those kinds of things. Now, that never works out, and I'm always having to go in and do something, but I would prefer to do that. But I also have 3 or 4 people on my team that could do that easily.
Sure.
Okay, so the next thing would probably be expectations, and we've talked about application, we've talked about process, we've talked about interview, we've talked about taking a tour and doing a background check. But if you don't clearly tell people what you expect, they won't know. They never know until you tell them.
Right.
When you've told them, they don't remember. So that's why it's written down in this book. We want them to know exactly what's coming.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that you have taken the time to make sure it's written out so that way they can refer to it and be very clear about it as you're walking through it. That's really good.
And some other things that we're working on that we don't have a really good handle on yet is I'm working on job descriptions for every single position that we have. That whatever you do, there's a job description, because I've had a lot of people come in that want to serve, and I'd say, okay, go stand over there and just jump in. That doesn't work. They're going to stand there this week and they're going to do absolutely nothing, and next week they're not coming back because they don't know what to do. People
Right.
don't want to be a body standing in the corner of the room. They want to have a job purpose. So we got to give them a clear purpose.
Mhm.
And again, I don't have that. I don't have anything to give you for that just yet.
Okay, it's still under development.
It is. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do, if you've gone through all these steps already and you think, okay, this is going to be the person that we want to put in this particular position, the next few things are they seem intuitive, but they may or may not be. We need to put them in a group in our database. We need to put them in the right group, because right now they're currently probably in an adult Sunday school class or something like that. They need to move out of that Sunday school class and into the Sunday school class group that you want them in, so that when they go to the electronic check-in or whatever, they're in the right place and we can follow up with them and we know that they're there and we know what they're doing. But that also helps that adult Sunday school class know that they've sent out a missionary, because they're no longer on their class roll anymore as a member. And in our case, they stay on the class roll as an affiliate. So they're still part of that class, and we still want them to go to all those things that happen with that class, the social.
Because they need to have connections with their friends, with adults.
They've got to. And I want them to, because they're going to be able to then turn around and recruit new people to come in and do this process over and over.
That's true.
After we've done all this, we've had our interview, we've talked about it, we've prayed about it, we've decided, yes, we're going to do it. We've talked to them, we've put them in the right group. We want to then schedule another time to sit down with them and talk and tour. And again, we already did a tour. We already showed them everything. But now that, okay, the reality is you're coming to serve, the tour that you did before is gone. They don't remember any of that. So we're going to go and follow up and walk through everything with them one more time. And then, most of all, the greatest thing ever, we're going to celebrate, because now we have a new leader.
That's good.
That's our process.
I love it. So what does the celebration look like? Do you do some kind of celebration, maybe in your workers meeting or in the printed stuff at the church? Or
That would be really cool. But no, I usually go to my office and go, yes. No, we really do need to have a way to celebrate. We don't really have a good way, but
it might get somebody else's attention and say, wow, look, so-and-so's now teaching. And maybe they'll want to. Yeah.
That's a really good idea. Whenever we send out missionaries, we always bring them down to the front of the sanctuary and pray for them.
Yes.
For brand new teachers. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's good. Even if it's not allowed to do at the end of the service or something, but wow, wouldn't that be great? Any other place that you can get it in front of people. That's cool. Well, you went to a lot of detail in order to get these new teachers assimilated into the ministry. Why not use the celebration time? It's a for sure deal. They're not just in a tryout mode. They're ready to do it. Charlie, what a great idea.
It is a good idea. I'm glad you thought of it.
No, I meant all of this detail. This is good.
Now, Mark, here's the thing. Here's the kicker. You can't now just ignore them. Once you've released them to do ministry, you have to continually talk with them and say, hey, how's it going? What part of this did I lie to you about? Or what part of this did you not understand?
Yeah.
Because what that'll do is help you the next time whenever you're trying to explain what that particular job is. It'll help you to be better at that, because we want to be as clear and as open as possible about what we're expecting. Now, the thing that you never want to do is to make it not sound like it's going to be less hard than it is, because children's ministry is hard and it's difficult. It's challenging. It's the greatest thing you'll ever get to do.
Yeah.
But it's hard. And we don't want to say, oh, this is the easiest job you'll ever do. You just come over here and you stand right here and everything will be great. It's not the way it is. And we don't want to tell anybody that.
I
But
agree with you.
we need to talk with people after they've been serving for a month or 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah, maybe all of those.
Maybe all of those. Maybe we sit down with them at dinner or at lunch or something like that and just follow up and say, how's it going? Is this what you expected? How do I make sure that you have what you need?
Yeah,
If we want to, one of the reasons why we have to recruit leaders all the time is because we lose leaders all the time. So
that's right.
we don't follow up the back door, the front door will always be running. So if
No kidding.
you're treating your people well, they'll stay until God moves them. We don't want us to move them.
I agree. I agree. I think that follow-up is very key, because they got to know that you care and that you're there, you're for them, and you want them to be equipped with whatever that is that they need. So follow-up is vital. Man, Charlie, this has been so helpful, and to even get a copy of that would be so huge, because we can pull out of it and everyone could tailor make it. You know, churches are different, and to be able to get that good information is great. Thank you for everything you've shared with us today. I know that you have such an incredible ministry there. You've invested in it, and obviously it's paying off in a big way. I love your philosophy, leading children to Christ. You're equipping them as well as the family, and that's huge. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I'm more than happy to share anything that we do that's good with anybody that wants it.
Well, everybody, I'm so glad you were able to join us today. Hey, this has been a great time just to think about enlistment, things we can improve on, and maybe you've heard something today you're ready to put into practice. So I hope that you'll check the show notes for the helps that Charlie is providing for us all. And listen, we want to ask you if you'll go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and a review, because we want to keep this type of resource up for everyone, and that helps keep everything moving so others can find it and get this information. Hey, if you haven't signed up at Mr. Mark's Classroom and gotten the free book, please sign up and get that free book. Right now, you can just download it, and I think it'll be a big help to you and all your workers, and including them as well. Hey, we want you to do well at what it is that God's called you to do. Children's ministry is awesome, and your life in children's ministry is a gift. So go and make it count.